there, and welcome to everybody who is joining us today for this webinar on getting started in practice. So I'm really pleased to have the people joining us today that we do. We have beside me here Brian McVean, who is the Managing Director of Ideal Schools. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, already introduced, thank you, Elaine. So, yeah, Brian McVean, Managing Director, and although that sounds like a heady title, I am really just involved in most things that happen within Ideal Schools. Later I'll be giving you a little rundown of the qualification opportunities you've got to make the most of your practice and hopefully generate more income for yourself. So I'll go through that with you a little bit later, and I'll see you then.
Okay, thanks, Brian. I should have introduced myself. My name's Elaine van den Akker. I am all things marketing at Ideal Schools, and I am your host today. Louise, would you like to introduce yourself now, please?
Hi, I'm Louise Woodhouse. I'm level 4 taxation tutor, and I also run my own practice.
Thanks, Louise. And Caryl?
Hi, I'm Caryl. I am also a level 4 taxation tutor. I'm currently running my own practice as well.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And Michelle?
I'm Michelle Smith from ValueAdd Business Solutions. I am one of the ambassadors for Ideal Schools, helping them promote better bookkeeping across the UK. And I've been running my practice since January 2011.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Michelle. So everybody who is on this call today has really lots and lots of experience in getting started in practice, and that's what we're all about today. So we're going to start off with Louise, with Caryl helping, just kind of talking about the things you need to think about when you're getting started. In a moment, I'll ask her to do that. Just to say, folks, there is a chat if you want to ask any questions, but we will do a live Q&A at the end of this webinar. So if you want to save your questions for then, that's fine. But if something comes into your head while someone's speaking, pop it in the chat and we'll deal with it later on. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to close my mouth, and Louise, I'll leave it up to you to carry on.
Thanks, Elaine. So I want to bring not with the structure of what you need to do ICB-wise to go out and practice. I want to be extremely honest with you about how I felt after I'd finished training and how I got a successful practice. When I finished training, I felt like a carpenter that had never touched a piece of wood. And I'm sure a lot of you can understand that. You know, we did it, we did the training, but we hadn't actually got our hands on real life books. So the first thing that I did was approach friends. I told anybody and everyone what I was doing. I was very proud, obviously, but you should do that because you need them to know. And you can approach friends that you know are self-employed or have tax code problems or anything and everything. And that was my first step. Once I felt a bit more confident about that, I actually bought leads. So there was one company that I signed up to. I didn't buy any leads with them because they were quite expensive. But once you sign up, they actually send you some free leads. When you get the lead, always call them. I've found that emails don't work. So call, make a connection with them. At that moment where you're finding out what their problem is, take as many notes and ask as many questions as you possibly can about what they are doing, so that you then can compile a list. So what I used to do is once I'd got people to go and meet, I'd have a large diary. This large diary looked to them like I was just a very organised person. But inside my large diary, I'd written everything down that I could possibly think of, that because I would be nervous that I got there as a backup. So, you know, if my first visits were going out to meet people that wanted self-assessment. So I'd have things like, you know, don't forget class 4 national insurance. Don't forget class 2. I'd have the rates written down. I'd have, you know, anything that I could possibly think of that I thought, oh, when you put on the spot, you might forget this. That was in my diary, along with a list of questions that I wanted to ask them about, you know, all the other income they've got, etc., etc. Also, put them at ease. Now, this may sound really strange, but I know that you'll be the nervous one. Well, I was. But they will also be nervous because they're thinking, okay, I know that I've seen previous accountants when I've had to have self-assessment done before. I'm a little nervous because, I mean, there's so many people that hate numbers, you know, so put them at ease, make a little joke, you know, whatever you have to do, bring your personality to the game. Don't, you know, don't stifle yourself thinking, oh, I've got to act like this or I've got to act like that. I think personality helps a lot. Also, call the local newspaper in your town, get your name out there. Tell them that you're starting up a new business, how amazingly you've done at the ICB exams, on, you know, how your career path is looking. The Village magazine, we've got a church magazine. Get your name in there. I got several clients out of that. Business cards. Get yourself some business cards. Put them, you know, go round local shops. Put them in there. Get somebody to take them up to Gibson's or anywhere else that you can think of. That people that are self-employed or that would need a bookkeeper are going to go. Once you've got these clients, become so valuable that they can never let you go. Think about their growth. Think about how you can help their growth, because when they grow, you grow. And also, when you're talking about the business with them, say we. They're not on their own anymore. They've got you. So I hope that you can see that you don't have to be the stifled bookkeeper or, you know, thinking, oh, I need to act like this. Be you. Yes, there'll be some clients that would never take me on, but they're probably not going to be my sort of clients either. So be you, and just also another thing that I did is I had a massive A3 sheet of paper that I wrote on it all the things that, you know, that you need to think about. So like website, look into sales, you know, there's the Goldilocks option. I also used to use the analogy of I wanted to do fixed rates so that it wasn't like I was, you know, going into a sweet shop and getting a pick and mix. And nobody knows at the end of that pick and mix how much it's going to cost you. So, or if I'm doing something that I can't bring fixed rates to, like a messy cleanup of bookkeeping, then I will say to them, I will call you and let you know every time that we've reached, say, £200 worth of my billable time, so that they're not too scared about it.
Mm-hmm.
Just be you and be supportive, and you can do this. I've now got over 300 clients, and I'm very, very proud of the business that I've built, but I'm even prouder of being a tutor. That's where I get my warm, fuzzy feeling from.
Oh, that's lovely, Louise. And I think it's great advice to be yourself. I think people do think that they need to be in some way kind of buttoned up, or you know, there's people sometimes have an idea of what they think a bookkeeper or somebody who works with books should be like. And I think, you know, it's not the case. I think it's good advice, particularly the whole thing about bringing your personality to the game.
I think that my clients would say that my attitude is refreshing.
Yeah,
I get that a lot as well. I mean, when I set up my website, I started as a bookkeeper, as an employed person working for a family friend, actually. And my background was in financial services. So I worked for banks and building societies and things. But latterly, I was more involved in producing systemizing things. And this friend was an insurance broker, and he bought another insurance brokerage that had absolutely no systems in place. And he said to me, would you come and work? I mean, I kind of decided I was going to give up work. I mean, I wasn't that old, but I was lucky enough to be in a position where I didn't need to work. So I became a lady of leisure. Didn't lunch because I don't eat lunch, but and I was getting bored. So he came along and said, come and have a look at this. And I went in there and systemized it all for him. And he was really pleased. And then he said, can you have a look at the accounts as well? And they were in a complete and utter mess. I mean, you know, there were people who actually hadn't paid their insurance premiums for like 6 months. But he paid the money over to the insurance companies. And it's like, well, you do realise that you're missing out on all that money. You're subsidising all these people. So I sorted that out for him. And he then said, well, would you come and work for me in the accounts department? And that's how I got started in it. And then I thought, actually, I'm enjoying this. I want to dig deeper, and started doing the ICB exams. My husband then retired, so we moved down to Devon. But this particular client said, well, we don't want to lose you, but obviously you can't come into the office every day. How about if you're setting up your own company, I'll become your very first client. And that's how things went. But I moved to a completely new area. So yeah, a bit like Louise, I was then literally talking to everybody. If I went into the local coffee shop, I'd be chatting to the owner about the fact that I was an ICB bookkeeper. I spoke to the window cleaner. He became my first client down here. His wife ran a coffee shop. She became my second client down here. We then decided to set up a networking group because the local Chamber of Commerce had closed down. And we got loads of people coming into the networking group. I picked up clients from that. I then joined another Chamber of Commerce and picked up clients from that. The thing you have to remember is, yes, be yourself. When I set up the website, one of the other guys in the networking group is a paramedic, but his real thing is making films. And he said, can I do a video of you to embed in your website? So I was extremely nervous. I mean, Louise always says on these calls, I wish I could be as confident as you are, Caryl, but I tell you what, making this video was so scary. And I had to write a script. Now, you'd think if you write the script yourself, you'll remember it. Nope, I kept messing it up. It took us, I can't remember how many takes it took us to get this video. And in the end, he said, look, I'll just splice it together, don't worry. But my unique selling point was the fact that everybody's got a friend called Dave down the pub. So I said, I'm thinking about changing my name to Dave, because I'm quite happy to have a meeting with you in the local pub, but at least when you have a meeting with me, you know that you're talking to somebody in the pub that knows what they're talking about. And I also used to wear red Doc Martens. In fact, I still got red Doc Martens. And that became my selling point, because at the end of the video, I kind of cheekily say, if you don't want a man in a grey suit doing your accounts, choose the woman in the red shoes. I then got phone calls from people asking for the woman in the red shoes. And when I went to meet them, I always made sure that I wore those red shoes. And I actually had 2 people say to me, if you hadn't turned up wearing those red shoes, we wouldn't have employed you. We wouldn't have gone with you, because we wanted to see those red shoes in action.
We would have been disappointed otherwise.
That's it. So it's literally being you. And I mean, the easiest way is, as Louise says, you know, get them relaxed. The easiest way to get somebody relaxed is to say, tell me about your business. And then just shut up.
Yeah, and let them speak.
And let them speak, because, you know, it's a well-known phrase. We've got 2 ears, 1 mouth. Use them in those proportions. Listen to them. You can be making quick notes, because things will come out. And then you can throw in questions every now and then. You know, it's like, well, you mentioned that you've missed the kids' sports day, or you couldn't get to the nativity play. How would it be if somebody gave you that time? How good would you feel if you got that time? That's where I come in. I'm giving you not just peace of mind, if you like. I'm giving you time, which is something that we all run out of. And it's little things like that that people pick up on.
Well, I mean, you would. I think that's absolutely the kind of thing that would stay with you, or think, well, that's actually what I'm going to get out of this. It's not just knowing that my accounts and things are in better order. I'm actually going to get time to do the things that are important to me. Michelle,
Yeah.
can I bring you in here? How did you get started with your business when you were taking
Yeah, in
clients?
a completely different way to Caryl and Louise. My background was actually maths and computing. I mean, I did my dissertation in college on AI back in 1988. That's 40 years before the hype.
Yeah, that's how ahead of the curve you were.
I know. And I started my career in the oil industry doing statistical analysis and colouring in maps on the side. But it was, you know, that big company culture. And although it was my first proper job, I just knew that I didn't want to be a number. You know, you don't want to just be a number on a payroll. When I moved from there to my second job, I actually went to work for one of the geologists who had left and set up on his own. And I was in there doing this the technical analysis stuff again. He's the guy that got me into bookkeeping, really. What happened was the girl that did the accounts went on maternity leave. They said to me, "You've done a module in finance as part of your degree. Do you think you could do it?" And I said, "Well, if you show me what to do, I can try my best." No. So then what happened was the girl never came back from maternity. And when I asked, you know, what was happening in the role, they said, "Actually, the accountant says you're doing a better job than she was, so could you just keep doing it?" And I said, "Actually, I'm really enjoying it, so yes, thank you." But it's one of those, working in the oil industry, you know, in the early 90s just was not the best place to be, and there was redundancies left, right, and everywhere. Got made redundant from there, went to another oil company, got made redundant from there, looking for jobs. And I didn't have a degree. It was an HND that I had, a diploma. So it was at that point that I went and sort of went to uni and got my degree just so I could get a job. But you know, adult learner going back to uni was absolutely horrific. You know, insecurities were rife. But as part of my fourth year, I'd done some courses on some modules on new venture creation and entrepreneurial development, and I'm thinking, this starting your own business, that sounds dead easy. I'm well up for that. But to my mind, the only people that started businesses were, you know, electricians or, you know, plumbers, people that had a trade. You know, what could the wee lassie that does the admin and finance do? I didn't realise independent bookkeepers existed. I thought, yeah, they either were employed or they worked for an accountancy practice. So I ended up getting made redundant again from there, and I thought to myself, oh, you know, 4 times, how many hits can a girl take here? So that's when I started up my own business. And, you know, they say life begins at 40. That was me, the unexpected entrepreneur at 40. Biggest challenge for me was the mindset from employee to employer. But my first client was a male that I met at a female networking event, and he had actually come to give the presentation. And my strategy was always going to networking events, get there early, because the first time I went to a networking event, I walked in and I looked around the room and everyone was in their little groups, and here was me standing on my own, and I thought, I do not know a soul here. And I did that thing where I was kind of going like this, as if I was looking for someone that I was expecting to see. I knew nobody in that room. And I ended up, oh, they're not there. And I walked away and I left. I didn't go in. And the guy that ran it phoned me and said, "I thought you were coming to that event last week." And I said, "I did. This is what happened." And he said, "Come back next week. I'll meet you at the front door and I'll introduce you to people." And he did. But it's interesting to hear Caryl talking about those red boots, because my strategy was to wear a red belt. Because I'd walk away from networking events and you'd have a pile of cards that you'd collected and you wouldn't know who they were that you'd spoken to and who had just thrown a card at you and who you'd actually had a conversation with. I had, it was I think I read it somewhere, somebody saying just wear something memorable, and my thing was then a red belt, so I could always say, oh, Michelle, that's the girl with the red belt, kind of thing. But yeah, this first client was a sales client, and I went to meet him, and he says to me, I'm in a really strange position here, he said, because I'm a salesman, but you've already sold to me. And he became my first client, and he ran this program, and week 3 or 4 or something of his modules was about delegation, and say, oh, you don't need a virtual assistant, or you don't need a bookkeeper, you need a Michelle. Then every Christmas I'd go to his Christmas party, and they would all say, oh, you're Michelle. And, you know, and before you know it, a lot of my early clients came from him.
Yeah.
And very much like Louise says, I do think a lot of it was about personality and being approachable and just having a conversation with them.
I think people worry about talking about their finances with people who they think are going to judge them, who they think are going to disapprove, who they think are going to maybe look down at them or the way they've done it. I think if you're just genuinely you and you're upfront with people and they feel they can trust you and they can talk to you,
they're sometimes embarrassed to admit that they've got themselves into a bit of a state as well, and they probably think to themselves, I'm running a business, I'm embarrassed to admit that I don't understand what this profit and loss means.
Yeah, absolutely.
I totally agree.
Yeah, it's the one thing you will be prepared to have that conversation every month. I've made a profit, why haven't I got that much money in the bank? Yeah, and my answer is always, well, last month you made a loss, but you didn't have an overdraft. And then we sit down and we have the same, but be prepared to have that same conversation month on month. But don't ever roll your eyes and think, not again. Because what you're doing is you're working as a team, and eventually, you know, they will, your clients will come to appreciate what you do. I mean, I always used to say to them, look, I couldn't do what you do.
Yeah,
but I'm sure you can't do what I do.
But that's why it's that, because you're complementing each other and you're working together. I like the idea as well about saying we, Louise, that you said.
Yes, you are part of the team. For every one of my clients, I am part of their team.
Yeah.
You know, so it's definitely we. It has to be.
Yeah.
And another thing about meeting the clients, because obviously you're going to ask them loads of questions, or you know, you're going to need 2 forms of ID. I'll say, you know, if you bring your passport and driving license, because I need it for AML, I'll show you mine, because I don't want them, you know, nobody wants to go to somebody and you sit there and go, right, what's your date of birth? Can I see your passport? I need to know how much you earn. You know, so there's got to be as well, you know, a firm handshake, you know, smile, have a small conversation, listen to them, like Caryl said, about their baby, because it is their baby. And then bring yourself in, chip in, be part of their team. Tell them how that you can make their life better and their business better.
Yeah,
it's a great. Yeah, sorry, Elaine. I was going to say there's a great thing. It's a great thing I learned working for the bank, because latterly I was involved in training, which is why I enjoy the tutoring as well. But there's a little thing called feel, felt, found. So when you're chatting, feel, felt, found.
Right. Okay.
So somebody's talking to you and they say they've got a particular problem. I know exactly how you feel. That's how I felt when it happened to me. This is what I found. And it, you know, you're a team then. You don't even need the word we. You remember, feel, felt, found. The other thing as well is very often you might go to these network groups and people will come up to you and have a quick chat or whatever. And, you know, you give them a card and they'll say, oh, yeah, I'll give you a call. And you hear nothing. And you think, right, yeah, well, okay. You know, you ring them and it's like, well, oh, yeah, well, I'm a bit busy. Can I get back to you or whatever? I found, especially where I'm based down in Devon on the edge of Dartmoor. I can speak to someone in January and I'll chase them up in, well, you know, I mean, I was originally, I was based in Surrey. So if somebody contacted me and I didn't get back to them within 24 hours, If I rang them then, they'd say, oh, well, you took your time, I went to somebody else. So
Right.
when I moved down to Devon, I thought, right, I need to get back to people fairly quickly. They'd be like, oh, you're a bit pushy. So, right, okay.
Yeah.
Down in
Def-
Devon, the time scale is, I'll talk to you in January. I might think about it for a couple of months. You could ring me in March, and I'm still thinking about it. Come September, I'll be coming to you saying, yeah, I need my self-assessment doing. Be
Right, okay.
prepared to wait. But you know, you can when you've spoken to somebody, you get a feel for how pushy, if you like, if for want of a better word, how pushy do you need to be?
Yeah.
Give them space, because very often, especially if they know they're in a mess, they sometimes are burying their head in the sand, and they get embarrassed. They don't want to admit that they're in the mess that they're in. I mean, unfortunately, the longer it goes on, the bigger the mess. But
Yeah.
if you can put their mind at ease,
Yeah,
and
it'll
they
be-
come back to you, that's it. I mean, you know, the best thing I've got now is I've got a client who he was in a real mess. I mean, an absolute mess. Sorted it all out for him. The last time I spoke to him, he went, do you know what? You're my best mate. And I wasn't sure how to take it at the time, but now I thought, yeah, actually, I'll take that. I'm his best
happy with
mate.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got him out of this spot that he's in. Right, I
Yeah.
wanted to ask you ladies about imposter syndrome and confidence, because that surely has to be one of the biggest stumbling blocks for people when they're just, you know, I mean, I know, Michelle, you said you were looking at stuff on people starting new businesses and things and thinking, oh, that seems really easy, I'll go and do that. But there must have been an element of, can I do this?
Absolutely. I mean, because I had a wee bit of bookkeeping knowledge before I started doing bookkeeping, I fell into that sort of, the imposter syndrome was caused by me not having a formal qualifications. And of course,
Yeah.
that's where Ideal School stepped in, because I just kind of had a chat with Brian and he kind of set me on that path sort of thing. But my question to myself was, why would somebody choose me over someone that's got a qualification? And I thought,
Yeah.
I need to get that qualification so that I can level the playing field.
Yeah.
That's how I
absolutely.
kind of got over that first sort of little bit of what I call imposter syndrome.
Yeah. And that
And
makes
I
a-
got over it with the diary, Elaine.
yeah,
Because I
you've had-
did have,
that. Yeah.
I really did have, oh my, you know, can I do this? Can I really do this? I've got the qualifications, but, you know, as I said, carpenter that's never touched a piece of wood. But
Yeah.
that diary and being prepared, preparation is everything. And being prepared and thinking of all the things I needed to ask them, but also having it there that they couldn't see. So, you know, you'd have it on your lap, and one
Yeah.
side would be up where whichever, you know, wherever you make sure you sit so that they can't see that you've written everything down. But
Yeah.
you can list everything and list the tax rates, list, you know, so that you know you're prepared for that meeting. That was major for me.
Yeah.
Bit preparation.
I think preparation, and I think it's detailed preparation, isn't it? That's really the mark of a professional for people, I think.
Yeah.
They are
Yeah.
going to be reassured when you're talking if they feel that you have gone to all this trouble to prepare for the meeting and thought ahead about all the different things that might possibly come up. And I think in any scenario, I mean, I don't do books, as you know, but I certainly think preparation is important. I think definitely makes people feel more confident. So I think it's a great tip.
Bookkeepers are particularly susceptible to imposter syndrome because for a lot of them, this is their second career. They're usually retraining to be a bookkeeper.
Yeah.
They've already got that original career where they've built up their knowledge and things, but they're going into a space that they just really don't know.
Yeah.
And you know, they're doing it on their own. They're flying solo. They don't have a team of other people that they can sort of talk things through with, you know, and they're going to be trusted with sensitive financial information from other people.
Yeah.
That's a big thing as well.
Of course.
Yeah, I think that's the good thing with ICB, because you've got the branch network. So you're not ever really on your own, because you know, you've got the branch WhatsApp groups. Also, Ideal Schools, we've got the Facebook groups.
Yeah.
You know, it's a safe place to ask questions and things. But I mean, to prepare for my meetings, I used to think, okay, if the shoe was on the other foot and the person I'm meeting is going to come and ask me about my business, what are they likely to ask me about?
Yeah.
and then you can kind of work out then what you need to be asking them.
Yeah.
You know, and to be honest, you know, most small business people, they've probably had imposter syndrome when they first set up as well. So
Yeah.
they've been in your shoes, you know, so it's you know, get it into your head that, yeah, you are a qualified ICB bookkeeper.
Yeah.
So you know about bookkeeping, you may not know about being a carpenter, but then the carpenter doesn't know about bookkeeping, otherwise they wouldn't be talking to you.
Yeah.
And you don't need to prove to them that you know what you're talking about all of the time. I've been asked questions and I've thought, blimey, I don't know the answer to that. But I'm honest, I'll say, I don't know, but I'll go away and find out for you.
Absolutely. I think we've got a question in about pricing, folks. So I would like if we could save that for our Q&A at the end. Okay, so I've got that in from Annabelle, and Annabelle, we will come to that in just a moment. I think Brian is wanting also to share a piece of information with you guys about qualifications that might enhance getting started in practice if you maybe wanted to add these to the suite of things that people have. So I'm going to let Brian share the screen and maybe take you through that now, if that's okay, Brian?
Thanks very much, Elaine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think part of what the girls were saying there as well is that your qualifications that you're working through are so comprehensive and practical in nature. You've just got to really trust that after you've proven yourself under examination, that you've got the knowledge to help all of the businesses that you could potentially become your clients. So you just have to trust your knowledge when you're going into these client meetings. So what I'm going to do very briefly, because a lot of you will know what is available for you already, but through the I can go there. So I'm just going to go through the core qualifications that you need to practice as a self-employed bookkeeper under the umbrella of ICB or AET for that matter, is their level 2 and 3 bookkeeping, or in the AET perspective, you can also have the accounting qualifications in there as well. Now that will allow you to set up offering just general day-to-day bookkeeping services for data entry, VAT returns, reconciliations, and really everything up to draft accounts, including your profit and loss accounts and your balance sheets. It's when you go into the latter qualifications under ICB that or AET, sorry, and that really is when you can see your potential earnings increase by providing the additional services to your clients. So under ICB, you've got all these individual payroll management, self-assessment tax, the 2 financial statements, corporation tax units, and the business insight. Each one of these qualifications allow you to offer extra services to your clients. And from my experience, particularly from when we started our Facebook group pages, that's when you really saw the impact that the qualifications had on those that were out there in practice. And adding particularly the taxation elements, it really allows you to keep all the potential income you've got from your clients for yourself, rather than them going elsewhere. And the qualification regulations now allow you to really be the one-stop shop for your clients. So I know it's a bit daunting, the thought of the study and the passing exams, but a little effort in that regard can really maximise your income, which is what you're in it for, no doubt, as well as the flexibility in work. From an AET perspective, you have to complete the entire level 4 accounting qualification and then satisfy a worked experience criteria that they set in place. So if you want to offer self-assessment tax services to your clients under their accounting license, you have to have demonstrated that in a worked environment already and have somebody sign off on that. So that's where the difference. ICB trust their qualifications and providing you with the practical knowledge to qualify and offer the service immediately. AET needs you to get that practical experience before you take the next step and offer that as as an extra service. Now, as your business grows, you may want to get a little extra help. What have I done here, Alan?
Not sure what
There we go.
does.
So here, as your business grows, we at Ideal Schools have what we call an employee sponsorship scheme, and it's there's no point in you being on your own and feeling swarmed by your clients, or you passing clients on to somebody else. If you have scope to take on your own employee to help with your data entry, it could be that you train them up to level 2, and we give our students the opportunity to bring their employees first, got that right the first time, to us under this scheme, where they can monitor their progress and be in control of how they are moving through their studies. So that's something that would help you move and grow further in your practice. And when you're studying with us, obviously you've got all the support mechanism that we have available. So we now have virtual welcome meetings for new students, so that they can get a feel for who we are when they're undertaking their training. All training materials provided in hard copy, as well as having online access. You then have direct tutor support and admin support, for that matter, and that can be done in any way, from telephone, direct phone calls, email, live chat, messenger, then the Facebook group pages that we've mentioned before. So really, at Ideal Schools, we are a training provider, but we try to provide more than just the training. You have a network of tutors, of ambassadors like Louise, Michelle, and the community we have in our Facebook group pages is absolutely fantastic for you to benefit from. Other people's experiences, like we've heard today, are really important in allowing you to take that next step with a bit of confidence, really.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks, Brian.
Elaine, can I just say one more thing? So I want people to know what they are capable of, and Brian is going to back me up here. When I first spoke to Brian and we were discussing what qualifications I should take, Brian said, okay, why don't you take corporation tax and the financial statements? And I said, oh, Brian, I think that's way above me. I don't think I can do that. And look at, and so everything is possible, because once you start learning, you become more confident. And now I tutor it. I can't be thankful enough to Ideal Schools for giving me a second career.
That's brilliant to hear, Louise, and thank you. I think you're absolutely right. There's so much evidence to suggest that the more you learn, the more your brain changes. Neuroplasticity, all these things. There's so much out there that proves that the more you learn, your brain changes and you can make new connections. So the more you learn, the better it's going to be. You're going to get better as you go on. Now, I've got some questions, so I think we're going to move on to that section. There's so many things that I still want to talk about, but I kind of feel it's important that people get a chance to ask their questions. So we've got a few one in the chat and a couple on the Q&A. So we'll start with the Q&A. How did you work out your initial pricing strategy in the very early days? Asks Annabelle. Somebody want to pick up on that?
Okay, well, I looked around at how much bookkeepers were charging in the area. And I went with a nice, obviously, accountants will always charge more for bookkeeping. But if you look at bookkeepers in the area, and then I went with that, so I set an hourly price. I would say to a client, okay, give me 3 months at an hourly rate, and then I will provide you with a fixed fee. So they feel comfortable, I feel comfortable, and that was me.
Okay, thanks, Louise. Anyone else got anything else to say on
Sorry,
yeah.
Caryl, you go first.
Sorry. Yeah, I did more or less the same thing. Started at an hourly rate for the first 3 months because when you ask, when you're starting out, you haven't got a clue. What I do now is I use Go Proposal.
Okay.
So I work on a fixed fee, and it's worked out on transactions, number of bank accounts, how complex things are. and I use Go Proposal to come up with my my fees.
Okay,
Which
brilliant.
is lovely and everything, but when you're first starting out, it could be
Yeah.
expensive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, actually, though, because if you use Sage Accountant, that is actually free, and you got 5 Go Proposal things per month, free.
Right.
So you can play around with it. You can set it up. If you sign up to Sage Accountants, you've got Go Proposal, you've got auto entry. It's a limited number, but you can play around with the Go Proposal, and as long as you're not actually sending the proposals out to a client, you can create as many draft proposals as you want. So you can play around with it to think, is that going to be reasonable for the area I'm in, or do I need to tweak what's in the background that comes up with my figures? So that's how I did it, and that's how I got to use the Go Proposal. But
Okay,
the great thing is to start off with anything that says price free, have a look at.
Yeah, that's our favourite price.
Mhm.
Michelle, what about yourself?
We are still on hourly rates. I think we've only got 2 clients where we've got a packaged rate, because I've tried all of these things. I've tried Go Proposal. I've tried a variety of Excel templates where I've been modifying it. I just cannot get fixed pricing to work for me. I keep running it, looking at it and think, there's not a hope in hell somebody's going to pay that. And then I say, okay, this sounds more reasonable. And then I realise that, actually I can't do it in that fee. We've actually lost money out of doing fixed prices. So we always just revert back to pay as you go.
Okay. So everybody's got kind of their own view on it, and you've got staff as well, Michelle, haven't you?
Yeah, I do. And that's the thing. There's not a one perfect business. It's not a one size fits all.
Yeah.
What suits me won't suit Caryl, might not suit Louise, but there might be elements that fit.
Yeah.
And it's making it work for yourself.
That's why this is so good, though, because all 3 of us will bring something different to the table about our experiences.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So Carol's mentioned Sage and Sage Accountant and Go Proposal. We've had a question from Sarah. What software do you need to start your own business? So what do you think about software, guys?
Well, I tell you what I did. I looked at all the softwares: QuickBooks, Xero, Sage, Free Agent. Most of them will offer a free trial. So I took all those software people up on their free trials, and I played around with it. And if you sign up, basically, certainly QuickBooks and Xero give you your practice software for free.
Mm-hmm.
So I run my books on Xero and QuickBooks. So I do twice as much work for myself, but it means then I've got an understanding of the clients that are on there. So I'm not limited to clients only using one particular software. If a client comes to me and says, what software should I use? I will explain to them the different types, and I'll say, have a look at them. If you need me to run through them with you, we can sit down and play with them. Which one do you find easier to use? Which is best for you? Because it's got to be something that they feel comfortable with as well. Even though you're doing the books, they need to understand how it's working, because then they're not just going to hand everything over to you. They need to understand what they're looking at when they log into the software as well. But yeah, most of them are. I just went for all the free trials, and I'm still using it now. The nice thing is Free Agent is free if you've got a client that's got a NatWest or NatWest affiliated account.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the way I approached it.
Okay, what do you use?
I use all of them.
Mhm.
Basically, a lot of clients already come to you, with a software themselves, and they don't want to move from that software, but they're all a much of a muchness. So I've even got QuickFile, FreshBooks, Free Agent, QuickBooks, Xero. I didn't like Zoho.
Oh. Why didn't I?
But if your client comes to you and they've got Zoho, you will learn Zoho. Every single one of these softwares has got, come and get your accredited certification in this software. Then you can stick that on your website, stick it at the bottom of your email signature. They all do pretty, even though it's different interfaces, and at first you might be nervous, they're all doing the same thing.
Much the same thing. Yeah.
And I didn't invest in receipt software until I could afford it.
Okay.
You know, when you're first starting out, you're going to say, you know, use the actual software to put the receipts in for that.
Mm.
So QuickBooks and Xero, all of them, you can actually physically take a receipt, pop it into the software. I didn't start, you know, with Dext or Auto Entry or Docker until I became so that I knew I could afford that per month easily. And then I obviously, that helps because you become more automated. So you're reducing the number of hours you actually have to do. So it also helps increase the income that you're getting and your ability to take on more clients. But you don't need that right at the beginning.
Well, we would actually recharge that to the client. We would put a software charge on their invoice.
I don't for Docker, or I don't. But that's why I didn't stay with Dext, if you see what I mean, Michelle.
Yeah.
So I just chose one that I can. So I take the hit on Docker, but everybody's happy, if you see what I mean. And I've got staff, and to tell you the truth, I don't really do any of the publishing from Docker. The staff do that. So you know, but I would say to Becky, I had 130 clients on my own. Sorry, I should have read out the question, shouldn't I?
No, so I'll do it. She just says it will differ depending what services you offer clients, how many hours you want to work in your business. But on average, how many clients would you suggest one person could have before they needed to take on staff?
I had 130, but it depends on the size of the client. You know, if you've got a client that needs a lot of bookkeeping hours, that's a totally different situation than if they, you know, some of my clients only need 1 hour a month. So, but at that point, I was working up far too many hours. So then you think, okay, I'll bring on a member of staff. I've got one member of staff that's just admin, so just does all the scanning, and my AML keeping me compliant.
Yeah, absolutely.
We use subcontractors to give us that flex because
that's what I was going to ask. So what's the kind of benefit to subcontracting over staff? Why do you do that, Michelle?
Well, the subcontractors cost you more per hour than the staff cost you, but you get so much more flexibility, and you're not bound by sort of HR rules, and you don't have to pay them the same excuses that we give to the clients. You don't need to pay me for holidays, you don't need to pay me when I'm off sick, you don't need to pay me when I'm not working for you. We get that luxury from the subcontractors, and then we can bring in a subcontractor. So say we've got someone that specialises in working for restaurants and cafes, they just come in and do that work for us, kind of thing. So we have that advantage.
And you don't need to pay them a pension, Michelle.
Exactly, yes. Or 15% employers' national insurance.
I do exactly. I do exactly the same. I subcontract.
Okay. Good. Well, Becky's come back. On the receipt subject, do you find yourself constantly chasing clients to take photos in QuickBooks, etc., or are most pretty good?
You have to educate them.
Definitely.
They will start off being really bad. Oh, and some of the photos that you'll get at the beginning, you just think, did you check it was actually readable before you sent it to me? But you gently educate them. And if they want, you know, if they want their VAT doing, you know, within the first week after the end of their quarter or their month, you know, they're going to have to learn that I need the receipts.
I mean, the way that I approached it was, well, if I don't have a receipt, it's going to go down as either director's loan account if it's a limited company, or drawings. And then they come back and say, well, no, it was definitely business. I say, well, I haven't got a receipt to prove that.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
And they, you know, very quickly they do cotton to, yeah, you know, I say, how difficult can it be when you get back into your car, you've got the receipt in your hand, instead of stuffing it in your handbag or chucking it on the floor, take a picture of it.
Yeah, then and there.
All
Yeah.
the habit, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just getting them into the
It
habit
is, yeah,
of your,
yeah.
their information correctly.
So Becky's come back and likes the subcontractor idea. She's given that a thumbs up, and she's also saying, yeah, she used to work for, she used to do expenses for a large company, and some of the pictures and backgrounds were eye-opening at times, I can imagine. For all of you, this is from Rich, for all of you who successfully are running a practice, what is your view of the threat and opportunity of AI in bookkeeping? Oops. Sorry about that. I've managed to open that again. There we go.
AI is never going to be able to do everything.
No.
I mean, especially now, things like go to Asda for petrol and they'll take out £99, then reimburse, you know, 45 of that, and you've got a receipt for the difference. I'd like to see AI take that on.
Yeah.
So it's like I was saying before we started the broadcast. I like to put questions from our study material into AI to see if it comes up with the right answer, and I've yet to find it come up with the right answer. If you're putting a scenario, you know, limited company A, profits of this, can you work out the marginal tax relief, please? I did it this morning. It's wrong.
Yeah.
So until it gets to be 100% correct and that you can actually believe it every time, it's not going to be a threat to us. It's going to help us,
Yeah.
because, you know, if we're having to read long, complex information, yeah, great. We can say to it, can you just see this for me, please? But other than that, I can't see that it's ever going to replace bookkeepers.
And people always want to speak to a person.
Yeah,
Not
exactly.
about, you know,
Yeah.
People want people,
Yeah.
not robots.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, how many times do we, you know, you go into a supermarket and you want to talk to somebody, so you go and queue at the ordinary pay desk rather than doing, you know, the click and collect stuff thing, the self-service thing, because you know, humans want interaction.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can't see that AI is going to replace us, but I can see it as being a help to us.
Me too. And another thing that I would say is, you know, just because the adverts say that business owners can do their own self-assessment,
Yeah.
that's not really true either.
No,
they need the taxation. People that do self-assessment and corporation tax, we add value by, you know, bringing clients up on things throughout the year, like, no, you can't have that, no, you can't go to the dentist, and no, we're not putting that through the accounts, and these are the reasons why.
Yeah.
You know, and you're educating them along the way, but the more that you bring that value to them, the more that they will want you, not AI.
Yeah. Because AI can't do that. I can't add the value in that way.
I think a lot of it's going to depend on the direction that HMRC take, because if they're not putting the staffing in to check these returns and things that go in, then people will just start to think, well, nobody's checking it. I'll just go through this AI thing, bump that off. That's me done for another year. They don't really care if nobody's sort of investigating it.
But they are.
Yeah.
So I've already been questioned on one of my self-assessments submitted. I mean, luckily I'm very, very, very black and white. But so it's all been absolutely fine, but they wanted the receipts. So I've had to send, I've got a case and I've had to send all the receipts to back up my self-assessment that I completed on behalf of a client to HMRC. So I think, I don't think that AI will ever be able to take our place completely. As Caryl says, it will just make our lives slightly easier, because you can, you know, you can teach software and it will do a lot more for you, but it will never be the person at the end of it.
No,
I think a lot of people as well get mixed up between automation and AI because they are quite different.
yeah. No, absolutely. I'm going to move on because we've got some other questions. We've got a question from, I'm going to come to Hasib's last because he's got a couple of questions. Mel is asking, where do you find or advertise for subcontractors to help with workload?
My subcontractors are all other ICB bookkeepers.
So from your ICB branch contacts and network.
Branch contacts, so that I know the quality of work is going to be the same as the quality of my work.
Okay, because they've sat the same qualifications as you.
I've done that before, and I've phoned Brian and said, Brian, have you got anyone who's showing promise? Can you send them to me?
Yeah.
Our students are all showing promise.
I'm also the same as Michelle. But I will obviously, I've met so many of you lovely students out there. So then I will think, oh, I could do with some help. And this person's, you know, obviously got really good skills in this part of the field. And obviously one of my employees though is my son. So I've known him for a long time.
Yeah.
But also on the Ideal Schools forums, you know, the Facebook forums, you can put out there, word of mouth.
Yeah. No, that's get on the phone to Brian. He's got information about most things. Right, I'm going to come to Hasib's questions now. Hasib has asked, how long does it take to set up a practice? I mean, company set up, ICB license, agent accounts, etc. Is that a how long is a piece of string question, or is there a kind of concrete answer to that? What do we think?
Well, it depends it really depends how you get on it. But I mean, you set up whichever subject that you're going to tackle first. Like, say, if you tackle self-assessment, we tell you within the material how to set up an agent account. So then you've already got that. There is a delay with getting your agent code from HMRC. I know it took me about 6 weeks to get self-assessment. So try and get, as soon as you finish that exam, there is a blog on the Ideal Schools website where I tell you exactly what to do. I've even given a copy of my letter so that you can just use that, get it sent to HMRC. ICB was very easy for me to set up.
Yeah.
Very quick. You've got to have a proof of your professional indemnity insurance, but ICB will also tell you exactly what you need to be able to get your practice license.
Yeah. I mean, the ICO one was literally just online. You apply online and they just take the money off you and you get your certificate. So that's the quickest one. If you're setting up a limited company, then log into Company's House, set it up, pay the money.
20 minutes max?
Yeah, probably.
And I'll tell you, I set up a limited company the other day for a client. The limited company was open within 5 hours and we had the incorporation documents.
Brilliant. Yeah, so that's really fast. He's got a follow-up question, if that's okay. He was asking as well that he says he has a decade of experience as an accountant back in his home country. Currently in the UK, he's pursuing ICAEW and will be going for ICB practice license. How will I avoid the imposter syndrome factor? So I think it's the fact that he's been trained elsewhere, I think is what he's saying. How does he kind of avoid the fact that he might feel that he's not kind of as qualified as others?
I used to have this thing that I used to call it my EastEnders face. So I'd almost go into character. So he could have his own little alter ego of, you know, his little character and say, right, okay, this is me sitting down at my, it's like, you know, when people started working from home, they would say, oh, I have to put on my, you know, shirt and tie kind of thing to sit at my desk because it makes me feel as if I'm at work.
Yeah.
He could have his little sort of thing, but I mean, he might well make sort of mistakes because he's thinking of tax rules in his home country rather than his country. Mm-hmm. It's about reframing those mistakes. It's not failing, it's about growth. So thinking about it like that.
Experience, just use that experience to
absolutely
give clients confidence.
Yeah. And celebrate the little small wins. You get one client, then that's fantastic. Then you work on that one to try and build another, because once you've got one, you can write a case study on that for social media, which will help you potentially get another. Things like
Yeah.
that.
And Michelle, you're so right. 'Cause, you know, I used to be a secondary science teacher, and I would deliver most classes as if I was an actor on stage, because it allowed me to be a separate person, which I know sounds weird, but obviously people can tell that I don't really like public speaking, and it allows you to get past that by pretending that you're doing something else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do exactly the same when I was running training courses. You know, the first time you walk in there, you've got 60 people looking at you, expecting you to teach them something, and you think, okay, I'm going to channel my inner, and you just think of something else. I mean, just pretend you're on a stage and you're in a play.
When
You're
I worked
acting, you're
in
play acting.
when we worked in geology, quite often we would send junior geologists out for quite senior meetings, and they would really, really struggle with this. And we just used to say to them, remember, they're bringing you in because you're the specialist.
Yeah.
You've got this specialist knowledge that they don't have. They might know a little bit about it,
Yeah.
but they don't have that core specialist knowledge that you've got. And
Yeah.
that's where you're going to bring that to the table and build on from that.
And you will always know more than they do about your subject.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a good place for us to wrap it up, ladies and gentlemen. I have really enjoyed talking to you all, and I hope that everybody has found it helpful. I actually had sort of given us about 45 minutes, and we've actually talked for an hour, so believe it or not, I think we should probably leave it there. But the recording will be made available to everybody who's attended and anybody that had signed up that couldn't make it on the day. So I'd just like to thank everybody for taking part. I hope that you found it helpful. I hope that you found it encouraging. Becky says she has, so that's fab. I hope the rest of you have. Just don't be feeling that, you know, this is not something that you can do. These people have done it. They're continuing to do it, and you can do it too. Thanks so much for your time today, folks, and yeah, keep in touch.
Lovely. Bye.
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 Bye.